Welcome to How to Make an App for Beginners. Now, it doesn't matter if you've never coded before. By the end of this video, you will have built this app. Now, I know it looks simple, but it's so powerful because you will have proven to yourself that you can make an app. And oftentimes, that singular belief is all it takes for you to continue growing your skills, building bigger and better apps, and potentially even starting a career in app development. Now, maybe you've been doubting yourself, or maybe you've been wanting to build that app in your head for the longest time, or maybe you've even tried coding and failed. We're going to turn that all around. My singular purpose for this lesson is to help you believe that you can build an app. And I think that once you realize that it's not as hard as people make it out to be, you'll be excited to continue to grow your skills and build bigger and better apps. So I really hope that you watch till the end and you see what happens. Quick note, in case there's any doubt in your mind why I am the right person to teach you this stuff, my name is Chris and I've been teaching App Development Foundation since 2013. Code with Chris is also the largest iOS channel on YouTube, and the last time we did this training series, it was viewed by over 5.4 million people. This lesson series that you're about to watch has even been used inside school classrooms and Apple retail stores. Now, all of that is just to say that you're in good hands. I'm so excited you're here. Let's roll up our sleeves and get started. I'm going to walk through this diagram, and then after I'll tell you where to get all of the pieces. It all starts with the Xcode IDE. Now, IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, which is a term for the application and all of the tools a developer uses to build something. For the rest of this course, we'll simply call it Xcode. This is where we build our app by writing Swift code, building the user interface, or UI for short, and connecting it with all of our data. Swift is the programming language we use to express our logic and to tell the system what we want to do. We can even build the UI through Swift code, as you'll soon see. Now, SwiftUI is a UI framework that makes it easy for us to rapidly build apps for all of Apple's platforms. A nice benefit of learning Xcode, Swift, and SwiftUI is that they're the same skills and tools used to build all apps for all of Apple's platforms, including iOS, iPadOS, tvOS, watchOS, and macOS. And in some cases, your app will be able to work on multiple platforms without much changes at all. Now, once your app is built, you could distribute it with Apple's App Store. This is done by joining the Apple Developer Program, which requires an annual enrollment fee. Once you're enrolled, you get access to multiple benefits, including the App Store Connect portal, Test Flight, and the Provisioning portal. There are some more benefits, including access to beta software and support from Apple engineers, and I'll provide a link to the full list below. The Provisioning portal gives you access to tools for identifying and code signing your app. It's like putting your signature on the app so that Apple can identify who built it. And this is important for the safety of the end users downloading your app, and it's also important for you because it stops malicious coders from pretending to be you. Once your app is in a testable state, Test Flight allows you to invite people to download and beta test your app. They'll be able to send feedback and bug reports directly to you through the Test Flight program. Use Test Flight to ensure that your app is as polished as it can be before launch. And finally, App Store Connect is where you'll create the app listing for your app, including all of the metadata and screenshots. If your app has in-app purchases, this is also where you would configure them. Once your app is tested and the listing is ready, you can upload the app from Xcode to App Store Connect. From there, the certification team at Apple will review your app to ensure that it meets the App Store quality guidelines. This takes a couple of days, and don't worry if you fail because you can fix whatever they point out and resubmit it for review. If everything looks good, they'll approve the app and your app will be live. Congratulations! Alright, so where can you get these different pieces of the Apple developer ecosystem? You can download Xcode for free from the Mac App Store. I'll provide a link below. You don't need to get Swift or SwiftUI. Those just come with Xcode. As for the Apple Developer Program, I'll provide a link to the enrollment page below. I want to mention that joining the Apple Developer Program is completely optional. If your goal isn't to distribute apps into the App Store, don't join it. You'll still be able to learn how to build apps for yourself. Now that you have a general idea of the app ecosystem, let's start by downloading Xcode, and I'll show you how easy it is to use it to build an app. There are a couple of ways to download Xcode. If you already have it installed, you can go ahead and skip this section. However, if you don't, the easiest way to do this is to hold Command, press spacebar to launch Spotlight on your computer, and type in App Store. and let's open the Mac App Store on your computer and search for Xcode. And then you're going to click on the listing and then download it like that. A couple of things to note here though. Don't be turned off by the ratings. This is the official tool issued by Apple for us to build apps with. Also take note of the large file size. In my experience, it does take more free hard drive space than this in order to have it install successfully. And during the installation process, there may be times where you don't think it's doing anything. It seems stuck. It's going to take a while. Now, if for whatever reason you can't download it from the Mac App Store, you can also Google Apple Xcode and click on the listing here, and you can download it from the website. This will just lead you back to where we just were on the Mac App Store. However, if you download it from the website, do note that you have to sign up for a free Apple developer account or to sign in with an existing one. Okay, so once you have Xcode downloaded and installed, let's launch it and let's start a new project. This is going to be the welcome dialog for Xcode, and we're going to start a new Xcode project by clicking here. You can also go, if you don't see this, you can go File, New, and you can choose Project, same thing. Both will bring you to a screen like this where you can choose what sort of project template you want to start with. So we're working with iOS. Make sure you're on this tab and then go ahead and click App. And for here, I'm going to gloss over some of these project details because our goal is for you to get that result and make that discovery that you can build an app. So I am going to save all the explanations for lesson 2. Right now, I would recommend that you just follow along exactly what I do and get that result and have that app in your hand. All right, so let's go ahead and call this L1 demo. I think you probably have nothing for under the team. Organization identifier, you can put in com dot and then your name, no spaces. And interface, make sure this says SwiftUI. It should be like that by default anyways, and language should be Swift. Now uncheck all of those if they are checked. Go ahead, click next and choose a place to save it. Source control, this should be unchecked. I'm just going to save it on my desktop for now, since this is a temporary project. Now you're going to give it some time. It's going to boot up your new app project. I'm going to open this window up a little bit. You see how fast I was able to see something here on the right hand side for you. If it's a first launch, it will take a little bit longer, give it a couple of minutes even. But while that is going, we are actually going to go ahead on this left hand side here and click Assets. Now this is the asset library. This is where you're going to store all of the image and color assets for your app project. I've prepared an image file that we're going to use for this demo. You can go ahead and pause the video and grab any image you want. Save it somewhere where you know where it is. And what you're going to do is click and drag it into this panel right here, or this panel, doesn't really matter. This is a big panel, so let's drag it there. What you're going to see is this image asset that you've added to your Xcode project. Now take note of this name here because we're going to be referring to that image with that name. You can rename it by tapping and clicking it like that and just typing in whatever you want, or you can hit enter and you can also rename it like that. So mine's gonna be named Niagara Falls. That's perfectly fine for me. So now that you've got that done, let's go ahead and click on Content View. So by this time you should be seeing something on here, and what you see here is a preview of your user interface. So you can see what this screen looks like. And this screen right here on the right hand side is defined by the code that is written on the left hand side. I'm going to make this really easy for you to understand. We are going to delete all of this user interface and we're going to build it from scratch. And you'll see how easy this is. Right now it looks like a whole bunch of code that it's really hard to understand. We're going to change that. So let's highlight this code starting at VStack and then going all the way to the end of this line 18 padding. And I'm just going to highlight it all and just hit delete. And then I'm going to press enter twice so I can make some space in here. Now Xcode is going to throw a whole bunch of errors because it can't detect anything to display, but we are just about to add some new elements on there. So in the upper right hand corner, you see this plus icon. If you put your mouse over it, it's going to say library. So we're going to tap on that, and then by default it should be on this first tab actually. So I was using it before, so it was on the second tab, but I want you to go ahead and click on this first tab. This one is all of the views that you can add to your screen, and I want you to in here type in image, and you're going to click on the second one called image, and you're just going to drag and drop it right where all of that code was that we just deleted. So this is an image view. It's going to allow you to display an image. You're going to click this middle part, you're going to hit enter, and you're going to change the text inside the quotes. So I'm going to get rid of that. Notice that I still have the 2 quotes here. In between those 2 quotes, we're going to type in the asset name. So just to remind ourselves, let's go back to the asset library. Mine is called Niagara Falls, like that. You're going to type in exactly verbatim what you have here, including any spaces, dashes, capital letters, anything. You're going to type it exactly in between here. Because if it doesn't match, it's not going to display. And you can also, at this point, rename it to something that's easier to type if you want. You can do that. And what you're going to see is the image. This is previewing what we have here. Now this doesn't look quite right to me, so I am going to modify this image view. I'm going to customize it. We're going to open up the library again by tapping that, and this time we are going to switch over to the second tab. And these are where all the modifiers are. So modifiers are things that we add to the view to change its properties and attributes. First of all, let's add something called resizable. So you only have to type in the first couple of letters and you'll find this. So this allows you to, it tells the system that this image can be resized. So I'm going to click and drag once again and put it, you can either put it at the end or you can put it right underneath. And right away, give it a little bit of time, you'll notice that it changes. The other thing you'll notice though is that the image now looks a little bit squished, right? It looks squished and the aspect ratio is not correct. We're gonna also add a modifier to change that. But first, I wanna round the corners. That's something nice and easy and it looks pleasant. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's add another modifier by opening up the library. We are going to this time, make sure you're on the second tab, modifiers, and search for corner radius. Click drag and drop again. And this is the nice thing. We're going to put it underneath resizable. You see that it's automatically going to put a space for you. Make sure you don't accidentally put it down here or like after this bracket or anything like that. You want to put it after the resizable so that it's going to look neat and tidy like that. And you're going to notice a slight corner rounding, but we can't really see it, right? So we are going to change this number. Let's change it to 10 and see if we see anything. I can see slightly more rounding now, but take a look at this as well. I'm going to leave my mouse anywhere on image, resizable, or corner radius, my cursor I mean, and on the rightmost side here, you can see a whole bunch of things you can configure. After we added that corner radius modifier, you see right here, this reflects what we typed in right here. And in fact, if I press plus, you can see it's changing the number. Right, so this is a very easy way for us to modify the code visually through an interface here. Okay, so I promised that we would unsquish this image, right? Let's go ahead and open up the library and we are going to search for aspect ratio. And we're going to drag and drop this one right under corner radius. So again, make sure you put it right there. And if you accidentally put it right here, for example, you can go ahead and delete it and try it again. Now I'm going to put my cursor on aspect ratio because I want to change the type of aspect ratio. We can define how we want this to behave. Let's make a little more space. You can drag this and make the preview a little smaller so the code will fit on one line. So you can see here it says fill, which is exactly what we have here. I'm going to pull down this drop down. I want to find one that's called fit because that will actually shrink the image down, keeping the aspect ratio until it fits the screen, which is what the behavior that I want to see. Unfortunately, it's not in this drop down. Maybe Xcode can't detect it. However, don't forget, we can modify it through the code as well. So I am going to get rid of this fill by just, I'm going to delete it like that. And then I'm going to hit dot on my keyboard and out pops this menu. This is called the autocomplete menu. And it's going to allow you to select from different options without having to type too much. So just by hitting dot, it opens up this menu and it gives me different options. Now there we have fit, right? An option that resizes the content so that it's all within the available space, both vertically and horizontally. Let's choose that and see how that looks. Perfect, that's what I wanted. Now, one thing to note, if you press dot and that menu doesn't pop up, that's perfectly fine. Just type this out, .fit, and you're gonna get the same result. Next, I don't really like how it's touching the edges, so let's go ahead and add another modifier. This time it's called padding. So we're gonna drag and drop that. So you can see how easy this is, right? You don't even have to write all of this code. You can do this visually. I like the way the picture looks now. Let's put a piece of text underneath. So we're gonna open up the library again. And you see a common theme here. This time we're gonna switch over back to the Views tab, and we're gonna search for text. I'm gonna drag and drop that. This displays a piece of text, right? And you wanna make sure that you never, you wanna respect the brackets, right? So you never wanna put anything outside of these two brackets, because you see when I click it, right? When I click this, it shows the opening bracket. We have to put all of the components after this opening bracket and before this closing bracket. So think of it as a sandwich. So there's my text. Let's go ahead and double click placeholder. And once again, I can get rid of that text in between the quotes, and I can type in whatever I want. But you might get some errors in Xcode now, or worse yet, Xcode might not tell you what's wrong, and it might just not show you anything, as in what's happening right now. So the problem is that it doesn't know how to lay out these two elements. How do you want them arranged? On top of each other, beside each other? It doesn't know. Luckily, we have something called a layout container to tell the system how to lay out multiple elements on the screen. So again, let's open up the library under Views. Let's search for vertical stack. You can type in VStack or vertical stack. We're going to choose this one, not the lazy ones. So vertical stack, let's drag and drop that. I'm going to put this above the image this time. You'll see that this one, let's add some space in between it. This one comes with an opening bracket and a closing bracket, and in between it says content. So what a VStack does is whatever content is in between the opening bracket and closing bracket, it will lay it out on top of each other. So what we want to do is we're going to delete that content, and we are going to move this image along with all of its modifiers, as well as the text element inside the VStack, right in between these two brackets. So I'm going to press Command X to cut that code and put my cursor in between those two brackets and press Command V to paste it. And what you're going to see on the right hand side is now it knows how you want to arrange those elements. I want to change the text. Let's go ahead and add some modifiers, right? Okay, let's open up the library, change to the modifiers tab, and we're going to choose one called font. And you might not see it right away because, I mean, the search, I guess the word font is in the descriptions of all of this, but we're specifically going to look for one called font. There we go. Let's put that at the end. And then I'm going to hit enter to just organize it a little bit. And with this font one, you can change already. This is a title font, so you can see that it made it bigger. On the right hand side, if you put your cursor on the text, you can see the font here. It refers to title. I can go ahead and choose that and choose large title, for example. It makes it a little bigger. And let's say I wanted it to be bold. Let's change the weight to semi-bold. You see when I did that, it added a font weight modifier and set it to semi-bold. So I could have done this another way. I could have actually, I could delete that, and then we could have gone via our trusty library method, and I could add the font weight modifier like that and change this to semi-bold. So we would get the same result. Okay, now let's put the finishing touches on this app. So what I want to do is add a black background, and then we're done essentially. Okay, so how do we add a background here? So this is kind of not intuitive, but you're going to get used to it. Is if you want to add a colored background, you add a color element to the screen. So let's open up our library. It's under Views, and we're going to search for color, and that's the one right there. So we are going to drag and drop it. Once again, I'm going to put it above the V stack like that. And you can see, you can specify different percentages of green and blue. So if I wanted a black background, this would be like, they would be all zeros, and that would be black. However, there's also a different way to specify black. I can get rid of all of that. Like, this is good if you want a really custom color, but there are some presets that you can use as well. So I'm going to put color, I'm going to leave the 2 brackets like that. And in between those 2 brackets, I'm going to put dot. It's going to open this up. If it doesn't open for you, that's fine. Just type out dot black, but I'm going to choose it from here. And that's preset. Now notice how this color, first of all, it covers everything. Second of all, it doesn't reach the edges. Okay. And the reason why it doesn't reach the edges is because this is what's known as the safe area. This is where things like the battery percentage and like the time displays. And down here, you have that little handle that you can grab and you can, change between apps or minimize an app. So if you want your elements or your colors or whatever it may be to go into those zones, the safe area, you have to add a modifier to tell it to do so. So let's go ahead and add that modifier. Hit open the library and then switch the modifiers, and let's type in ignore. And there's this one, ignores safe area. So you're basically saying that you don't care about the safe area and you want this element to go into that danger zone or that safe area. Now you can see our color covers everything. The problem is we don't see anything else. So why don't we try making some space in our V stack right here and highlighting our color with the modifier, Command X to cut it, put it in here, Command V to paste it. What do you know? Our V stack puts it, arranges it on top of each other, but it's probably not what we're expecting, right? And you can see that it did it in a way, it's pretty smart, where it gave each element enough space. So this is as much space that like the text needs, and then the image, and then the black color takes up the rest, whatever else is available. But that's not really what we're after. We want the image and the text to sit on top of the color element, right? So there's another layout container we can use. Let's check it out. Let's go to views. It's called a depth stack, or in other words, a Z stack or Z stack if you're Canadian like me. So this one is going to be special. Things can actually sit on top of each other on the Z axis in sort of like a depth. You can have, depth would be the best way to describe it, right? So let's try this out. Let's erase content and let's first of all move the color in there. Command X, Command V. And next we are going to add our entire V stack in there. Okay, so let me just remove some of the space. Make sure this is very, you got to be very careful because we're moving things around. If you misalign one of the brackets here, it won't be able to read your code properly and it won't know what sort of layout to make. So tap on this bracket and make sure that when you do this, that it's highlighting the bracket that you expect it to. So you want to grab the V stack along with its opening bracket, along with all the contents, along with the closing bracket. So I'm just highlight all of that, Command X, and in here inside the Z stack before the closing bracket, I'm gonna put that in there. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna put the color at the bottom, and then it's good to put the V stack along with all of its contents on top of that. And so we have this. Unfortunately, our text is not visible. So let's go ahead and add a modifier. So I could just do this and choose white, or we could add a modifier. And the one that we're looking for is foreground color. That's what we would add to change the color of the text. However, let's modify it here and see what happens. See, when I chose white, it added the foreground color modifier for us and set it to color white. Pretty simple stuff, right? Now comes the fun part. Let's launch our app. Now later in this video series, I'll definitely show you how to launch this app or any app on your phone or your device. For right now, we are going to run this in the iOS simulator. So up here, you're going to notice it says iPhone, whatever. Well, it depends what version of Xcode you have, but I want you to tap on that and you can choose a bunch of different simulators. Choose the latest iPhone that you want. I'm just going to choose iPhone 14 and I want you to hit this run button. Now give it a couple of minutes and then you're going to see a virtual iPhone on your screen. I have to warn you though, if this is the first time you're running the iOS simulator, it's going to take a few minutes to boot up, but subsequent times it's going to be a lot faster. Now here it is. This is the simulator. Now the cool thing about the simulator is that there are some quick buttons here where you can rotate it to a different orientation so you can see what it looks like. You can take a screenshot. You can even take a video from the menus up here. You can hit this to go back to the home screen. This is a virtual iPhone for you to test your app. Now, what is the difference between this simulator and the preview that we had inside Xcode? Well, this simulator is great for testing your app because it has features to, look, you can simulate a shake, you can test out Face ID, you can simulate locations, like a custom location, you can simulate a driving car or a bicycle ride. So there are lots of things or tools for you to test your app, whereas the preview is good as exactly that, a preview while you are building your user interface. If you want to download this project, just check in the video description below. Now I hope this lesson has showed you that building apps is not some mystical dark art. Granted, this app was simple, but every lesson that you complete after this one, you're going to gain a new skill. Now, just in case you get stuck, we also have a free community where you can go and get help. Just visit codecrew.codewithchris.com. So between this lesson series and the community, I think you're going to make pretty good progress while having fun and learning a lot. I mean, these people did. Did you think I made those app icons up? In the next lesson, we are going to dive a little deeper into Xcode and I'll explain what the rest of the files in your app project do. Click over here to visit lesson 2 and I'll see you there.